Hey, good morning, everybody. It's BDF44 coming at you with another video. Last night I was thinking about how I enjoyed talking about a specific team. Made a whole 20-minute video on the OKC Thunder roster and just kind of broke down my understanding of some of the players and more so displayed to you guys that I'm looking to learn about this team and just talk about some of those players, things like that. I'm going to do the same thing right here with a different team. Today, the team that I want to kind of tackle is the Indiana Pacers. And they were on my mind last night because, to be completely honest with you, for as long as I've been alive, the Indiana Pacers, with the exception of the 1 year in 2000 when they ran into us in the finals, as well as the Paul George, Roy Hibbert, David West Pacers that went up against LeBron in the early 2000s. With the exception of those two teams, I really haven't seen a whole lot from the Pacers that would make me say they should be paid attention to. And I think right now I see a collection of players that deserve to be paid attention to. I don't think that the Pacers can overachieve necessarily or break out of their space of being kind of that team that nobody remembers or thinks about this year. I don't think this is an exciting year for the Pacers per se. But because it's not considered an exciting year, because nobody's talking about the Pacers, I think the opportunity for them to catch people off guard this season is there. I think that they are amongst the Eastern Conference teams that are going to be playing for a play-in tournament situation, as they are always fighting for the eighth seed, it seems. And I think this year's no exception to that. But I like some of the stuff that they've picked up. Some of the stuff they have on their rosters is rather intriguing to me, to be honest with you. They're starting to pile up some really nice players. So let's get into what they have here. First person I want to talk about on this team is Sabonis, because he is the star of the show. He is the centerpiece. He is their all-star. And Sabonis, to be honest with you, is one of the more underrated big men in all of basketball. He might be. Him and a few others come to mind as underrated players in this league. And when I think about a triple-double threat from the center power forward position, somebody who still plays in the paint, somebody who still plays with his back against the basketball, back against the basket, this is somebody who can do that. Superior rebounder from jump. As soon as he came into the league with the Orlando Magic, it was evident that he was going to be a player for them. I don't know why they gave up on him so soon. He comes from a great pedigree. Obviously, if you're familiar with the old 2000, same year, believe it or not, that I was talking about where the Lakers played the Pacers. That same year, of course, we played the Portland Trail Blazers in that infamous 7-game series where we won that game 7 after being down by 1 million at the end of the third quarter, right? It's an amazing game. Sabonis' dad was the starting center on that Portland Trailblazer team. His name was Arvydas Sabonis, and he was a very, very, very gifted overseas player for many, many years before coming over into the NBA and kicking tail with the Portland Trailblazers and leaving his mark on this league. But he was one of those guys who could stretch the floor before it was popular to do so at the as a 7-footer center. He could shoot that ball, and his son can shoot it even better than he can. His son is a better player than him, in my opinion. And he has all the attributes of his dad. He's just faster. A lot faster. He can pass like his dad. His dad was a fantastic passer from the center position as well. One of the great playmakers from the generation that I started watching basketball in at that center position. Go along with guys like Chris Webber and Vlade Divac, also on that Sacramento team. I look at Arvydas Sabonis as one of those guys who can do it. His son picked up that attribute as a fantastic passer, as well as a really, really, really efficient scorer in the paint. He does take threes here and there, but I don't know him to be somebody who stretches the floor, but he's not somebody where you say you can't play him because he doesn't space the floor well. He will hit the shot if he has to. And most importantly, he does not have all of the paint duties, because the next name on my list is a guy who's been a lifelong Pacer, someone who was drafted maybe like 11 years ago and has not disappointed at all. One of the best shot blockers and three-point stretch centers in all of basketball, by the name of Myles Turner. Myles Turner has been a player that has long been on the Lakers' wish list. We've wanted him ever since he got into the league. But he's been loyal to the Pacers, and the Pacers have kept him on strong. And he's been their starting center the entire time, and this guy is good. He is really good. Another very, very underrated player. And the reason why he's underrated He plays for the Pacers. It's literally that simple. But Myles Turner's always been good. Myles Turner's always been one of those guys who's had some injury issues to a degree, but nothing too crazy. But he's missed enough time to make it noteworthy. At the end of the day, when you talk about Myles Turner, the one thing that stands out for sure, he's stretching the floor. He can hit the three. He can play with his back against the basket too. He has no problem banging with guys. He has no problem getting to the line. Very good free throw shooter from what I understand as well. And this is a guy who just gives you a lot of boards as well as all the stuff you want from your center. But what makes him most dangerous is his shot blocking ability. He really provides a great deal of help for their guards and for Sabonis as well. And since he can shoot that three, being that Sabonis likes to play in the paint, it doesn't become a problem. It's a really nice dynamic in their front court. It's one of the best things they got going for themselves. Next player on this list here is another star of theirs, another guy in their rotation that they really dig. His name is Malcolm Brogdon, also one of my favorite guards in the league. Another guy who's been with the Pacers for a little bit. He started his career with Milwaukee, won Rookie of the Year there, and really kind of came along as somebody who wasn't overly touted as a high draft pick or anything. He just made his name for himself by pushing through in a year where, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Ben Simmons had gotten hurt. I think that was the year that Ben Simmons did not play his rookie season, and Malcolm Brogdon was like the best rookie of that class at the time. If I'm not mistaken, nobody else really stepped ahead of him. He kind of made a nice push at the end of the season and took that Rookie of the Year from everybody else. Kind of shocked the heck out of everybody by signing with the Pacers. We really thought he would return back to Milwaukee, and one could argue Milwaukee's situation was set back by the loss of Malcolm Brogdon, but they didn't want to pay him. And if you look at it, how it turned out for Milwaukee, I'm sure they're pretty happy. But so are the Pacers. They got a heck of a player. This is a guy who can shoot the ball, who can drive the basket, efficient player once again. Good on the defensive end because he has very long arms, good metrics in that way. Sneaky long arms because he's not an overly tall guy. He has good handles, very aggressive. Very aggressive. And the thing about Malcolm Brogdon is because he's so aggressive and so efficient, he really puts up good scoring numbers consistently. His issues? Injuries. He can't seem to string together a full season just yet, but it's still early. I think, what is this, year 5 possibly for Malcolm Brogdon? Year 4 or 5? I think it's 5. This is a guy who's still getting started. This is a guy who's still making a name for himself. This is a guy who has a lot of value in the NBA. Other teams want him. So he's somebody that the Pacers are very happy with, but if they decide they can trade him, they can get something for it. So he's one of their more valuable pieces in my opinion. Another guy I want to talk about is another one of my favorite players. Is another reason why I like talking about this team right now, because they look up and they have a lot of guys on this team that I just like individually. Caris LeVert. It's another guy. Caris LeVert, of course, we know from Brooklyn fame. He was able to come up. They developed him very well. He was able to make a name for himself during that D'Angelo Russell era, mostly, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. He kind of just blew up during that process and showed signs of being good all the way up until there, but he's had some injury issues here and there, and then went down with something that was very serious. He had to go under the knife for, if I'm not mistaken, it was something cancerous, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember, to be completely honest with you, exactly what happened, but it was a procedure where he had to go under the knife, and I as a man of faith, I can say it was by the grace of God that the Brooklyn Nets decided to trade him. Because they were trading him to the Pacers doctors were able to find whatever was going on, and they were able to get into it in time, take care of it, heal him up, and get him back on the court. And he's back out there now. He's past that. He ended the season healthy, if I'm not mistaken, and he's having a good offseason, I'd imagine. I haven't heard anything, but I'm saying, like, he's healthy in the offseason. I'd imagine he's working, and he's going to get back to that status he was at when he was playing his best, because nothing's really happened other than that particular procedure, which he recovered from in astonishing fashion. Like he came back within a couple months. He was ready to go. So this is somebody who I think has all-star potential. This is somebody who, if he has a career year, can be the difference between the Pacers making the playoffs and not. He's a very pivotal player on this team, and I think his role is going to be as big as anybody's. They brought him in to be a mainstay, and with his presence, they have a great deal of depth at that shooting guard position. I'm wondering, as we start to continue to name these names off, I'm wondering if they're going to keep all the guards and small forwards that they have, because they do have quite a bit of guys that they could probably package together and get a better player or something like that, maybe get a draft pick or something if they decide to. But next name on the list, let's keep it going. There's a guy here that I paid attention to in the fantasy basketball last year. Kind of took fantasy basketball by storm, really, near the end of the season when Sabonis kind of went down with some type of injury of some sort. I don't remember exactly what happened there, but he went down, and Oshae Brissett stepped in and showed that he could play starters minutes in this league. Can give you a little bit of everything: block a shot, get a steal, get some assists, grab some boards, grab some points. Anything you want from your power forward, Oshae Brissett showed us that he can give us. And most importantly, he too can be a threat from behind the arc. So this is a player I like, a lot of upside. I think they just got him. I think he's, year 2 or 3 right now. And he's already shown signs of being a big-time player for the Pacers. So I look at him and I say he provides a great deal of depth. But like Caris LeVert, I'm wondering what his future will be with the Pacers because of the depth that they have at that power forward position. He's a valuable guy who they can probably get something for. But I like him. He provides a great deal of depth and power forward at the power forward position. He's somebody I don't feel bad about starting. If I have to, I'm very comfortable with Oshae Brissett being my starting power forward based on his production. So yeah, we're gonna keep it going, man. There's a guy by the name of T.J. McConnell, who we all are familiar with because of his motor. Even though he plays a lot of positions or roles, that are not consistent since he's been in the league. He started off with the Philadelphia 76ers. His role was just be third string backup. Every time he came in, he killed it. Both sides of the floor. He comes in, gives you the type of dirty work energy that you would want from your point guard. He goes after it. And every season, his numbers are getting better. Every time he gets more opportunities, he shows why the NBA has done him no service in the roles that they've given him since he's been in this league. I'm not saying he should be a starting point guard necessarily, but I am saying the opportunity for him to be good enough to play the starting position has already been proven. He's already shown that he can do it. Last year, he put up a couple games where his numbers were all-star level, just crazy stuff. So he's not doing that every night, but he's a big play potential point guard who, because of his role and because of the lane that he's in, can really do anything you need him to do. If you want him to be a DNP guy, unfortunately, he's used to that. If you need him to start, I think he can do it. If you need him to be the main guy off the bench, he can do it. If you need him to be your shooting guard, he can do it. So T.J. McConnell's an underrated player in this league. His size kind of dictates where you're comfortable putting him in the lineup. But he's one of those guys where if I'm rendered to only 8 players on my team, which we've seen before, if something happens where everybody gets hurt and everybody's in trouble, and I'm forced to play a guy out of position, completely out of position, he's one of those guys I would be comfortable doing that because of how feisty he is defensively, because of how irritating he is, and how well he tends to draw fouls and create plays for others and things of that nature. So I'm huge on T.J. McConnell. I just want to see him get a role in this league that showcases him a bit better than the roles that he's had. That's what I think. Next guy on the list, Jeremy Lamb. Jeremy Lamb is a free agent. I heard the Lakers are linked to him. He's a guy who's a small forward. I don't know that the Pacers should bring him back because of all these small forwards that they have. Paying him probably doesn't make a lot of sense unless it's like $2 million, $5 million, for which I think he can get more. Not from the Lakers, but that's a winning situation. So I don't think Jeremy Lamb's coming back, but for the sake of him being an important piece, if he does, he's worth mentioning. Small forward guy. Athletic, tall, can play some defense, long arms. Definitely somebody you feel really good as your backup small forward, backup shooting guard, even your starter. He can do it. We know we can. The next guy, Justin Holiday, is on my list. He's of that Holiday clan. You know, Drew Holiday, Aaron Holiday. Those are his brothers. And I'm not as familiar with his game, to be honest with you. I'm not going to even lie to you guys. I kind of understand him to be a defensive player. He's taller than both of his brothers, if I'm not mistaken. Has some big playability in terms of driving at the basket. But I just have more to learn about the player. Just ain't seen a whole lot of him. Batazde, another guy who they took in the draft about 3 years ago, showed that he can be a shot blocker. That's what I took from Batazde. Now, I don't know what else he's able to do because he hasn't really had an opportunity to show it. Kind of buried on the bench on this team. Again, a pacer, so you never see him. But I remember when he was drafted, this was a center who would, if anything, he could be a defensive center for you. If nothing else, he showed the ability to block multiple shots in a game. So that's about as much as I know. I'd like to see him get a bigger role in this league as well. It's another guy just barely in the back of a bench of a team you never see. It's cut and dry. And the rest of the players that we're talking about here, like, for example, a lot of guys I'm not familiar with, but there's a guy that there's one more name I must mention. Their pick in this year's draft, Chris Duarte. This is a big-time dude. One of the best, if not the very best shooter in the draft. Simple as that. 13th pick. He's an older guy. He's actually the age of Devin Booker, they say. He's already that age right now. But he killed it in the summer league, showed exactly why they got him. Just a pure shooter. He was 42% from three last year in college, 81% from the line. This is somebody who great in the pick and roll, great shooting off the catch, great shooting off the dribble, just great shooting, period. Anywhere you need the shot off, this guy can shoot. I watched a little footage on him, and what I saw in all of it was a consistency from behind the arc. This guy has some of the best balance in the draft in terms of shooting the ball. His balance is excellent, and he's going to be a pure shooter for this team. Now, I don't know how, being that he's the 13th pick in the draft, I don't expect that he's going to be starting right away, but I do expect that he has the upside to start, and he's one of the reasons why I look at guys like Jeremy Lamb and Caris LeVert and wonder what the future is on this team, because I think he's going to step in and immediately be the best shooter on the squad, to be completely honest with you. With respect to Caris LeVert, I think they drafted him for a reason, and that reason is they needed some shooting. Now, of course, we've mentioned that all of their bigs can stretch the floor. TJ Warren's a guy who can fill up the points from anywhere at any time, but he's just had so many injury issues. And they got guys, that can score. That's not an issue. But the question is, do they have that pure J.J. Redick, Ray Allen type shooter? And the answer is now, yes, they got one. Chris Duarte is definitely that. Now, will he develop into that level of shooter? I think he will. Judging from what I saw in the short highlights, I think he's one of those guys. Will his defense and other aspects of his game catch up? Will he be more of an intangible player to keep himself in an all-star level consideration? I'm ignorant. I don't know yet. But what I can say is his shot, he can shoot. He's going to be able to shoot as soon as he gets on the court immediately. And if they put him in a lineup that allows him some consistency, I think he can put himself in a position to be an outstanding rookie. Outstanding rookie. He's ready. From what I saw, he's older, so he's already of age. His body should be straight. He knows the game. He tore up Summer League. This is somebody I expect, with health permitting, to be probably a top 10 rookie in the league this year, just off the strength of his shooting ability. I'd expect his shooting numbers to be just as good in the NBA as they were in college. That's going to translate. So that's my thinking on Chris Duarte. It's also noteworthy that they picked up a guy played in the finals this year, Torrey Craig, played some starters minutes as a power forward for the Phoenix Suns. He's also someone who's going to provide some depth for this team. At the end of the day, man, the Pacers have, like I said, I love all that I heard there. Everything that I talked about, a bunch of players that I think should be given opportunities, and as a collective, they look like they fit. So this is a team, if they were in the Western Conference, I know this is going to sound weird, but if they were in the Western Conference, I think they have a better chance of making the playoffs, because I think the Western Conference this particular year has weaker teams at the bottom than the Eastern Conference does. The Eastern Conference teams at the bottom can really go, and the Western Conference teams at the bottom are kind of just young teams finding their way. So for the first time ever, the Eastern Conference is a deeper conference. I really believe that. In fact, they got about 2 extra contenders, in my opinion. So unfortunately, the Pacers are not one of them, but they got a lot of good stuff here. There's another name here that I'd like to mention before getting out of here. A guy by the name of Isaiah Jackson. They took with the 22nd pick. He's a power forward, kind of traditional power forward from the way that they described him in the bio. I haven't seen footage on the guy yet, but he's noteworthy because he's the 22nd pick. The Lakers had the 22nd pick. I'm a Laker fan, so I'm always going to mention stuff like that. He never put on a Laker uniform, but that is our pick. Power forward Isaiah Jackson, who plays for the Pacers. And looking at this roster, he's going to have to work hard to find minutes. Very hard. It's also noteworthy that they got some guys by the name of Kalen Martin and Cassius Stanley. I've heard Cassius Stanley's name, but I'm not familiar with what he does. I'm looking forward to finding out. But this is the Pacers, man. At the end of the day, I don't know that the Pacers should really do anything in terms of making splashes. They do have some players that they could package together to kind of make themselves a little better. But unless they have a clear-cut direction of what exactly they want to do with the player that they bring in, they're the type of organization to where they probably shouldn't be too hasty to bring a guy in that they have to pay. Because chances are, he's not going to want to stay. It's that simple. The way teams like Memphis and them and Minnesota and other teams that are small markets and Milwaukee, they got to build from within because it's very difficult to get free agents. Now, the Pacers, believe it or not, have had some good luck re-signing guys that they've picked up in trade. So once guys get there, they find themselves home. That's the one thing that I can say about the Pacers for certain. They, just off the top of my dome, on average have more players stay for longer periods of time with their organization than most other organizations. They don't really have turnstiles, dude. In terms of the turnover on their squad, their guys stay. So that's that. Without hearing anybody say great things about their organization, that speaks to the type of faith that players have in the organization and the type of reaction they have to how things are done there. Even though they don't be winning, when was the last time you heard a guy say, I got to get the hell out of Indiana? Literally never. Literally never. Even though they have some situations that are not so good, even though one could argue Sabonis might be in the same situation as Bradley Beal to a degree, although I don't think that. But I'm saying, like, he's not winning, time is running out, blah, blah, blah. But they're happy. Guys are in Indiana, and they're living their lives. It's a basketball town. And it's a good NBA city, man. For me, as an NBA fan, growing up, having only got a chance to see teams like the Knicks over and over again, and they were sucking, while the Indiana Pacers were competent and good for a lot of the time, I just want the NBA to kind of give me, and I speak for myself, give me more of a variety of teams to see on national television. I'm from LA. I've never seen the Pacers play on national television outside of the playoffs or when my Lakers are playing them. That's literally the only time I see those guys. That should not happen. We got to start looking at the NBA differently. The NBA is not prioritized based on teams. It shouldn't be anyway. Players move teams every year. The same players go in different rotations to different spots. So we need to start looking at the NBA as an entire landscape and just pay attention to it as a landscape. Because a guy on the Lakers today could be on the Pacers tomorrow. What, he's more important because he's putting on a Laker uniform? That's stupid. That's old marketing techniques that don't fit today's internet society. We want to know about everybody, and we want to see everybody all the time, and we want to watch multiple games on multiple screens, and that's what it is. So show me more Pacers, man. I want to see what's going on with that team, and hopefully one day before I die, we can see them win a championship. Because I think every team should get a chance to win a championship at some point, except for the Los Angeles Clippers and the Boston Celtics. That's what I think. My name is BDF44. I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.